Hi, everyone. I'm Angela, and I'll be walking you through the steps of writing an op-ed for the next 4 weeks. The first week will be an introduction to op-eds. What are they? What are the advantages of the op-ed form for researchers? Why are we learning this form? How do you begin thinking about them? Then we'll have classes devoted to the elements and structure of an op-ed, how to edit, and then the best practices on how to pitch. My goal is to demystify the process as much as possible. So you start with an idea, probably related to your research, that you already want to write about, and end feeling confident that you know the steps to turn it into an op-ed that can get accepted, professionally edited, published, and then read by lots of people that you've never met and never will meet. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to tell you more about myself and my career and my relationship with science writing. I'm a science journalist, an editor, and an author. I've been a staff reporter at the Wall Street Journal, MIT Technology Review, and Vox Media's The Verge. Mostly, I've covered artificial intelligence and neuroscience, but I also had a stint doing a lot of work on batteries and materials, which I honestly kind of miss. Then I moved into editing. For 2 years, I was a senior editor at Wired, running the idea section. That meant I was commissioning and editing op-eds and essays for both the web and print. Basically, I was on the other side. I was the editor that you'd be pitching to try to get your op-ed pitch accepted. So I really know my stuff there. And I'm really glad to be able to share some of what I've learned from the other side with you. But I wasn't always a science and tech person. My undergraduate degree was in Russian and German literature, but I was always fascinated by science and tech. And there came this point in my career early on when I had to make this decision about whether I'd be primarily a books, arts, culture reporter or primarily a science reporter. Obviously, I chose science reporting. And that's because, to put it sort of cheekily, science reporting made me feel more stupid. Or maybe a politer way to put it is, it made me feel challenged and invigorated in a way that I value. When I say that it made me feel stupid, what I mean is that I love the feeling of reading a dense paper and finding all these extremely technical and wonky concepts that I didn't know about, and it made me feel just the limits of how little I did know. But then I loved talking to researchers and learning more and understanding more. It felt like my world was constantly expanding. I loved research. I loved academia. I loved having people explain complicated topics to me. And I loved thinking about ways to explain complicated topics to other people. I just like thinking about the way the world works and thinking about the future specifically and cutting edge knowledge. And being a science reporter and editor gave me that opportunity. I think I feel most alive and engaged when I'm learning and learning about a wide variety of different topics, and SciComm and science journalism has enabled me to do that. On a side note, I did mention I was an author. A few years ago, I wrote a nonfiction book called Ace, which is not a science book at all. It's a cultural studies book about asexuality. And so that's part of how I still got to work on my other intellectual interests, more around sociology and philosophy. And I mention this because it's a part of my life, but also because it goes to show that you never need to be hemmed in by only one thing, whether that's being a scientist or a researcher or a poet or a journalist. Anyway, I'm really excited to guide you through the next 4 weeks. I hope it's useful, I hope it's clarifying, and I hope it's fun. Let's get started.